see them filming and including in the Netflix series a private text message. OK, they don't reveal the contents, but clearly a negative text message that William...
Absolutely. What we're really now seeing is that both of them, having posed as the victim for so long, are really the aggressors. And what I really thought at the end of it as well was this, which I think is a very, very pertinent point. When they came across for the Queen's funeral, and there was that amazing scene outside the castle of meeting the well-wishers in the walk, there was always talk of reconciliation. Mm-hmm. Charles and William and Kate go one side, Harry and Meghan the other side, smiling and all the rest of it. But at that time, William didn't know that Harry and Meghan had already recorded their poison for Netflix. It was already edited. All the stuff that we heard today about Charles lying, about William screaming and shouting, was in the can, was being edited, and they duplicitly did not reveal what they were going to do. Now, Harry's got form on that, because he did exactly the same at Prince Philip's funeral, when he recorded that whole thing about how his father was responsible for his mental breakdown. And he stood in the St. George's Chapel, knowing that he'd done his family down in the Apple broadcast, the armchair broadcast, and didn't reveal it. So he's as duplicitous as Meghan, but it's worse, because she's an actress. She's got no stake in this country. But Harry, a former army officer, betraying the army, his country, his family, his father, dumping on the king, the future king too, and also on his grandmother, that is extraordinary. I mean, Diana would be shocked. The one thing Diana didn't do was be so duplicitous, so dishonest.
Well, no, and Diana made it clear, didn't she? Her criticism was always reserved for Charles.
Absolutely.
Not for the Queen, not for the institution of monarchy itself.
But Harry has actually gone out of his way to undermine everything that we stand for.
Tom Bower, the best-selling investigative journalist behind some of the most explosive royal biographies, has spoken out again. And this time, he's calling the unraveling of Meghan and Harry's narrative extraordinary. The couple once captured global sympathy. But now, they're facing growing backlash, mounting inconsistencies, and what Bower calls a complete collapse of public trust. So today, we're unpacking what Bower said, what's being exposed, and how Meghan and Harry's credibility is slowly and very publicly falling apart. Tom Bower isn't just a columnist with opinions. He's a forensic researcher and royal insider with a track record of uncovering elite hypocrisy. He's written best-selling exposés on the royal family, Boris Johnson, and yes, a scathing biography on Meghan Markle herself.
He's gone out of his way to undermine the family, the institution, everything. And I think Diana, well, I know, we all know, Diana would be shocked that we're sitting here today discussing her son as an outright liar, as a man who conspired with Meghan in the 6 hours of perfidy. You know, for example, the whole description she does of the Portland hospital, the birth, that was completely fabricated. We all know the first interview was given to CBS. We all know that she never intended to go to the Portland hospital. She intended to have the baby at home. We know that they deceived the public about the birth data and time of the whole event. So, and also, you know, even it goes down to the lawyer saying that in that statement, when they have that long attack on the Mail, which is astonishing, that Meghan, we know she lied in her statement, that she says that she didn't cooperate with Omid Scobie, and she said that she didn't consult anyone writing the letter to her father. That was in a sworn written statement. That was untrue. She then admits that it was untrue. But her lawyer says Meghan didn't lie. Well, extraordinary how the whole thing is unravelling.
And yet they don't produce any evidence.
None at all.
Of the claims that they have made against the royal family. For example, William being a bully. For example, this idea that the royal family was conspiring with the press to bring them down. Where is the evidence?
It's always they. They never name them, except they did name Jason Knauf, the man who in the end exposed Meghan's lies, and of course they're furious with him. So the whole series ends with that statement on the screen which says, Knauf is the liar, not us. And that is the level they've sunk to. But I also think, you know, Netflix have a lot to answer for. If an established broadcaster in Britain or America produced that sort of succession, 6 hours of lies, they would be absolutely hounded out.
No balance.
Not in no balance, no truth, no criteria. I mean, what is the criteria? It is just propaganda. You know, Joseph Goebbels, Hitler's propagandist, would look with real awe at what the Sussexes and Netflix have achieved.
Because what they've done quite cleverly, right, especially for an international audience, because I know this is landing well, shockingly, outside of the UK. What they've done very cleverly is they use their friends, their lawyer, academics who have always backed their side of the argument to seem to give a balanced picture. It's as if you are watching a balanced documentary, but in fact, all of those people are stooges. They are plants for Harry and Meghan. I mean, this friend, Lucy Fraser, I think her name is, she's some sort of PR. She's stating as categorical fact, right, that there were internals, as she calls them, at the palace who had decided that Harry and Meghan had become too popular, so they had to bring them down. Who has told Lucy that? Harry and Meghan. She hasn't spoken to anyone at the palace.
When Bauer says their story is unraveling, he's not speculating. He's highlighting patterned contradictions, shifting timelines, and strategic silence from Meghan and Harry as their once sympathetic tale begins to crack. The paparazzi chase in New York, billed as near catastrophic by their rep, yet NYPD, taxi drivers, and on-site eyewitnesses told a very different story. No danger, no high-speed pursuit. Archie's security and titles. They claimed Archie was denied a title due to race. In reality, he wasn't entitled to a princely title under royal rules, same as many others before him. These are not minor inconsistencies. These are claims that shaped public perception, and now they're backfiring. According to Bauer, the unraveling goes deeper than factual errors.
But you know, what's really extraordinary as well is that normally in making documentaries, which I did for more than 20 years at the BBC, you film someone, that's it. This is all acted, it's contrived. Doria always has that little pause, a little tear. Have you noticed how Meghan cries, but there's never a tear? The makeup is never smeared. Everything is so rehearsed.
We found that clip of her, didn't she, saying that one of her great talents is that she can cry on cue out of her left eye.
And you know the whole construction of her father, that man who in the end was abandoned by Meghan for months before the wedding, totally left to his own devices, isolated, really felt abandoned. That's why he sold the photographs, because he felt so besmirched. To actually say he was the reason why the whole thing exploded, why they had to leave in Britain. And then, of course, Harry saying, of course, Meghan's got no father. And now he doesn't have a father. They really are.
It's despicable. And I know you've obviously done this, as have I. You know, you go and you speak to the Markles, you get to understand them. But actually, you can look at Meghan's own public statements. I mean, she stood up at the United Nations. That was her most famous appearance before meeting Harry. And she praised Thomas Markle. She said he was a great father who instilled the values in her that allowed her to challenge that soap company, which she talks about all the time. She credited that to... Well, of course it was. But the point is, she credited her father. And now she's sort of trying to say, oh, yeah, he was a good dad, but I actually felt really lonely as a kid.
But I think what is also so terrible is that Harry never went to see the father.
Oh.
And why not? Because Meghan was ashamed of him. Because Meghan was already constructing a whole new narrative to exclude the father. And in that, the father, Thomas Markle, blames Doria. Yeah. And Doria plays a really sinister role in this whole story. Because remember, for 10 years in Meghan's life, from the age of 5 to 18, more than 10 years, she disappeared.
But we never hear about it.
He believes Meghan and Harry used the narrative of escape from oppression as a brand strategy. One that gained them interviews, Netflix deals, and multi-million-dollar visibility. But as that sympathy runs dry, people are starting to question, was this ever really about healing, or was it about positioning? Tom Bauer calls it calculated. And watching the media tide turn, he might be right.
We never hear. And she says at one stage, I went to every one of Meghan's plays at school. Of course she didn't. She was never there.
No, and also, Thomas Markle paid for the university fees.
And the school fees, and the car, and the home, and the black car, he paid for everything, the petrol, everything.
So, Tom, look, can we look ahead? Because, of course, this isn't the end. You know, it's only a couple of weeks until we're likely to get the first leak of Spare, the Harry autobiography. Now, I hear lots of people, I disagree with them, but I hear lots of people saying, oh, what more damage can he do? But I think you think this book could be even worse.
Well, I think what they've had to do is they've had to stage and restrict what's in Netflix so they've got something new to sell the book because there's £20 million at least. Well, I think there's definitely got to be something about Camilla. She's escaped so far. I think there's
we know they don't like her.
We know we don't like her, and there's the whole race thing there. I think there's more about King Charles, the relationship with his father, the relationship between father and mother. I think there's a lot more about the whole institutions of British government. And I think something of the Queen as well. I mean, what he said about the Queen today was shocking, that she sat there likes of at the Sandringham Summit not saying anything. But what was terrible, he said about the Queen, and he'd done about the Queen, is that he knew that he dumped on his grandmother when he was burying her in Windsor. And that is the level of their duplicity. That is unforgivable of Harry to have done that.
I think it's completely unforgivable, and actually he's trying to undo the late Queen's life work.
Public opinion polls in the UK and even the US are showing a sharp decline in support for the Sussexes. Spotify dropped Meghan's podcast after one season, and Netflix is reportedly cooling on further Sussex projects. Archewell Foundation activity has slowed dramatically. As more and more of their truths unravel, so does the public trust. And without that, the Sussex brand is cracking at its foundation.
When he and Meghan stopped working for the royal family and left the country to work on podcasts and TV shows in California, which mainly involve slagging off their family. Harry still gets state-funded police protection in the UK. He just has to notify them of his trips on a case-by-case basis. He's not a working royal, therefore he doesn't get the automatic round-the-clock service that a working royal gets. Most of the public, almost all of the media, and other judges in one of Britain's top courts think that is fair enough. Harry, of course, thinks it's deeply unfair. He says he's not safe in the UK, although he's reportedly safe enough to order a Deliveroo to his friend's house when he was over here last, and to go to Ukraine, which apparently he viewed as safer, clearly, than the UK. In his bombshell BBC interview, he blamed pretty much everybody, of course, as usual, other than himself, including his father, the King, who is currently, of course, suffering from cancer.
I've never asked him to intervene. I've asked him to step out of the way and let the experts do their job. Ultimately, this whole thing could be resolved through him, not necessarily by intervening, but by stepping aside, allowing the experts to do what is necessary.
An establishment stitch-up, he called it. This is, of course, Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, the Earl of Dumbarton, and Baron Kilkeel. That's pretty establishment, buddy. This is a delusional, treacherous, bitter little man who's completely lost touch with all reality, a multi-millionaire who's raked in a fortune by regularly abusing his family and regurgitating private stories in books and TV shows while simultaneously lecturing the rest of us about not invading privacy. It's quite extraordinary, isn't it, that he should expect us to pay for him to live as a celebrity. In a half-hearted appeal to the sympathy vote, he said he would like to reconcile with his father before crudely and shockingly speculating on his father's battle with cancer.
I don't know how much longer my father has. He won't speak to me because of this security stuff. But it would be nice to reconcile.
You think that's the only reason he doesn't want to talk to you, Harry? It's not that you trashed him, his wife, your brother, your brother's wife, everybody else, calling them all a bunch of callous racists. Think that might have played some part in why none of them want to talk to you or trust you as far as they can throw you? Now, obviously, if Harry did want to reconcile with his father, then perhaps he wouldn't be repeatedly attacking him on TV. The fact is that he and Meghan have become a waning brand of vanishingly limited interest to the American or the British public. Their only currency that works is to peddle very unpleasant stuff about the family and monarchy that they abandoned and are now apparently on a mission to destroy. Now, the King can end this feud. Harry's right. but not by shaking hands with this treacherous little weasel, but by stripping him and his wife of the royal titles that they love to use for commercial gain without doing any of the work that comes with being a working royal in this country. And we saw that, of course, as the VE Day celebrations happened this week. That's what a real royal does. They don't lounge in a California mansion spending the ill-gotten gains they make from trashing their family. Well, to debate all this, I'm joined in the studio by Uncensored contributor and family lawyer Paula Rowan-Adrian and Vanity Fair royal correspondent Katie Nicholl, plus from the United States by the Daily Mail columnist Maureen Callahan and the LA-based royal commentator Kinsey Schofield. So welcome to all of you. I do want to start, Katie, by saying welcome back because viewers may not know this as to why you've not been on this show for quite a while, but you actually, it turned out, were secretly, you didn't tell anyone, you were having your own battle with cancer. You wrote incredibly movingly about it. You've come out the other end. You look fabulous.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm fabulous. I'm doing very well, thank you. And delighted to be back doing what I enjoy doing. And actually delighted to see the King and the Princess of Wales, who have, of course, gone through their own cancer diagnosis, you know, putting a spotlight on it, smashing stigmas and doing what the royal family do so well. So I just think that message is, listen to your body. If something doesn't feel right, get it checked out.
Well, it's great to have you back. And I really mean that. We've been friends a long time and you went very quiet for a long period. We were all very worried about you. And now we don't have to worry. You look fabulous. So it's great to see you. Just to start with you, Katie, though, about what's gone on here. If ever we saw the two sides of these two, I call them two, because one's a renegade royal family operating in America, a sort of splinter group, and one is the actual royal family here doing what we expect of them. The contrast couldn't be more marked. People doing their duty today in front of hordes of people in London to celebrate the 80th anniversary of VE Day, obviously one of the great moments in the country's history. And then Harry, you know, in the build-up to this, when it's the last thing the royal family would have wanted, out he comes spray gunning all the royals again, including his father, who, you know, he tells the world now isn't talking to him, and disingenuously claims it's only because of this security issue, when, of course, it isn't.
Well, it was extraordinary, and I've just come off the back of the coverage for the BBC for the VE Day commemorations, and you know, you are struck with that sort of the irony of the situation. You've got the royal family up there representing the armed forces, a military family themselves, and of course, the one serving member of the royal family, or the one who'd served 2 tours of Afghanistan, Prince Harry, was notable by his absence. And I think we'd all hoped that there would be an opportunity that he might be able to come back to Britain in some sort of circumstance. But frankly,
actually, I didn't.
Well, but his behaviour.
I don't want them stealing all the attention away from the event, which is all they ever do.
Well,
coming over,
it was very...
yapping away, and then going back with all the new information they glean from their family to go and sell it onto American television.
Well, it was very nearly overshadowed, of course, by that BBC interview, and very much the guidance we were getting from the palace is that, please, can we keep the focus of today on the veterans, on VE Day, which, of course, it was. But, you know, Prince Harry has lost his place at that table. He has lost his place on that balcony.
And just be clear, voluntarily. Let me bring in Maureen. I mean, Maureen, I think you share my view of these two. What's interesting is a lot of people in Britain ask me, I've just been in America for a month, for example, on both coasts. And they say, you know, what do Americans think of them? I said, you know what? I think they find them really dull. And the only interesting thing they think about them is when they're trashing their family, and it's all good, juicy, salacious gossip, which is what we saw again with Harry this week. But it's been diminishing returns for a long time. And as somebody pointed out to me today, they supposedly left to have a happiness and a freedom. And yet all we keep hearing is how trapped they still feel and how obviously unhappy they must be to keep complaining.
Well, Piers, again, I hear this all the time, too, from the Brits. Like, what do Americans really think of Harry and Meghan? We despise them. We have had a conclave of sorts. We have come to a universal response. We are a single organism. We despise them. I loved how you described Harry and Meghan as sort of a splinter group of a royal camp in America. It made me think of, you know, I think of them as sort of emotional terrorists. And I think of them, it's sort of like ISIS being an outgrowth of Al-Qaeda, a splinter group. And that's what they're doing. And I listened very closely to that BBC interview, which was full of rage, grievance, a false claim, in my opinion, by Harry, that he wants resolution. He lives for unresolved conflict. Yeah. Otherwise, he's got nothing going. And also the implication, which shows you how paranoid, delusional, and utterly lost he is. Piers, he walked right up to saying, the royal family wants me dead.
Yeah, he did. It was unbelievable. All right, well, let's turn to the resident they can do no wrong member of the panel. Paula, you've been on a lovely holiday. I've been following your travails on... travails is not quite the right word. Your luxurious travels through Italy. So welcome back. Looking very well and rested. Go on then, try and defend this.
Do you know what?
Did you watch the whole thing?
I didn't watch the whole thing, but I've read as much as I can feasibly read. But I just want to focus on the whole defence thing. You talk about me defending the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. This isn't about defending. What this is about, actually, is me saying, where are we in terms of a monarchy? Do we want a strong monarchy? Do we want a long-lasting monarchy?
Yes and yes.
Because if we do, then we need to stop attacking and start supporting.
Who's doing the attacking?
Now,
hang on.
What we are told...
I don't disagree with you.
Yes.
I agree with the first part of that.
Okay.
Yes, I do want a strong monarchy. Yes, I do want to give it longevity. Mm-hmm. I'm a big monarchist. But the last part of that, the only attacking is coming from one side. There is no attacking from the royal family against these two. Well, it's only coming from Harry and Meghan the last 5 years against them. Tax day has passed, but for millions of Americans, that's where the trouble begins. The IRS is now ramping up enforcement for those who missed the April deadline or still owe back taxes. Well, today's sponsor, Tax Network USA, can still help. If your books are a mess, if you're self-employed, or if you're a business owner, Tax Network USA specializes in cleaning up financial chaos and getting you back on track quickly. They say the IRS is applying enforcement pressure at levels they've never seen before. But even after the deadline, it's not too late to take control. The consultation is completely free. Acting now could stop penalties, threatening letters, and surprise levies before they escalate. Call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/peers. That's tnusa.com/peers. Let Tax Network USA make the next move, not the IRS. When is a senior member of the royal family attacked them in public?
But you know that senior members never publicly come out and make comments
so you agree
like
with
that.
Me?
So, but what we are told is a source said, or a source close to the royal family said. My point is, look, the royal family are in trouble as an institution. We know that in terms of the support for the royal family, it's in decline.
Did you see the mall today at Buckingham Palace?
It's in decline. And we know that because the polls tell us, and we know that particularly in relation to the youth, the younger generation. And if you
why do you think that is?
And if you are to stop, because of the relevance.
Could it be because they've been branded a bunch of callous racists by these two who have absconded to...
Well, you keep saying that. That's another thing I need to correct you on. They never said that their royal family were callous racists.
Oh, they did?
Those are your words.
No,
those are your words.
Okay.
And Prince Harry very clearly said those were not the words that he used to describe.
No, he later blamed the media.
He heard.
Let me just remind you what they told Oprah Winfrey. She said that she was suicidal and that when she went to somebody senior at the palace to ask for help, she was told she couldn't get any. Mm-hmm. I didn't believe it at the time. It never appeared in Harry's book. She's never repeated it. There has never been any shred of evidence to support that story whatsoever. One. Secondly, we now know from Omid Rabies, or whatever his name is, that arse-licking little Burke that does whatever they tell him to do, from a book that appeared in Holland, and I was the one that revealed this, that he reported that the two royals who Meghan Markle claimed had been racist about the skin colour of her baby, even before it was born. Well, hang on.
Harry had raised in conversation
they had raised
with Meghan Sussex.
That she wanted us to believe, and told the world via Oprah, that they had raised concerns about the skin colour of her unborn baby. In what world do you think it is likely that Catherine or Charles ever espoused a single racist undertone to any comment about the birth of their unborn child? And again, Paula, it never appeared in his book. He never repeated it again, and nor did she. And in fact, he then said later, oh, no, it was the media that said it was racist, not me, Gov.
So you agree with me?
No, I agree with you. I agree with you that he later tried to lie about it.
The words callous racist are your words. Again, you agree with me.
Can I just
agree with me on that too.
When the royal family found themselves at the centre of that storm, regardless of who said